Hi everybody, we're going to do some computing. We're going to carry on our e-safety, and we're going to be looking at another pillar of being safe online, and that is to be internet secure. So what we're going to look at how we can be internet secure. In particular, we're going to be looking at passwords and how we can build strong passwords. Now there's lots of other ways we can stay secure. This is one we are going to focus on. So what I want to start this lesson with is just draw a little continuum. So this is a continuum over here. A continuum is something you can draw when all of the answers or all of the statements individually might be very closely linked, but the extremes are quite different. So 0 is not very confident, 10 is confident. Where would you place each of these statements? You might want to name them A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now I encourage you to draw this out, but it might just be an internal discussion you're having with yourself. How confident that you can keep yourself protected online? How confident are you that you can make a strong password, can spot fake news, can spot a scam, know how to make someone feel better online, can keep yourself safe, and you know if content is appropriate for you? So there are no wrong or right answers on this. This is just for you. Maybe come the end of this, you might want to change the position of some of these because now you're a little bit more confident. Just for you to get a gauge how you feel about being safe online. So what I want to start with is looking at why is it important to protect our personal information. So now you might want to do this in the form of a list. What I want you to do is just list some few things down. You might want to do it in the form of a mind map where you put personal information in the middle, and you might want to explore the consequences of not protecting your personal information. What might happen? Now I encourage you to pause the video and have a go. I'm going to show you some examples, but I encourage you to keep adding to all of your brilliant ideas. So some people might find out where you live. Now that could be through data trapped in pictures. It might be through clues that they can see in the videos of the pictures. And with that, they can find out if you're home or not. Maybe if we cast our minds back to our example in our previous lesson when we spoke about a friend posting about someone being on holiday, you might post a picture when you're out. Somebody can look at the data within that picture and they can find out when it was taken. If it was taken 5 minutes ago and you're at the park, then you're likely to still be there. They might find out what school you go to, if you've got a school uniform in the background or you're wearing it. They can see you photos, they can see your photos. They might be able to see your messages. They might be able to buy things without your consent. They might get access to bank details. Now this is probably more relevant to older children, but it could still be relevant to you. They might send you things that you don't want, like if they can get your address, they might send you some junk mail or things like that, or they might send you emails that you don't want, and they might be able to steal your identity. There are loads and loads and loads of other reasons why you might want to protect your personal information. Number one, it's your information and you should be able to choose how it's used. And some people can even sell your information, so they're making money off of information about you. So you need to be able to keep that protected and secure. So one way, the most popular way that we can do that is with a password. So now what I want you to do is just have a think to yourself, what is a password? You may have passwords. You definitely have used passwords if you've logged into PE. What's the purpose of a password? What's special about it? Pause the video. You might want to add that as a branch onto your mind map. You might want to do this as a separate little bit of notes. You might want to color code your mind map. So password is just normally text. It can be letters, and it's just something that's there. It's a bit of information that only you should know, or only the relevant people should know, and it helps to stop other people that don't know it from getting to whatever it's hiding. It's almost like a key. It's the key that goes into the lock that unlocks all of the information. So lots and lots of people have really weak passwords, and we're going to be looking at how we can build strong passwords. So have a think about that. What is a strong password? Are some of your passwords strong? Now, I'm not asking you to share any passwords that you have, because of course we shouldn't be sharing passwords, especially if you might have overheard somebody else's password. Definitely shouldn't be sharing it. But have a think to yourself, and it's probably best not to write them down, because if you're going to submit it, then I would see it, and that wouldn't be very secure. Have a think about how might you build a strong password. One way that we can do it, actually, is what I want you to do is have a look at this. This is an example of a strong password. Look at it. It's just a mess. It's just a jumble of lots and lots of letters. Now, there's some pros and cons to having a password like this. Some pros might be it's incredibly hard to crack. It's incredibly hard to guess, but a con of having a password like this is it might be incredibly hard to remember. And if a password's hard to remember, you might want to write it down, but actually when you write it down, it starts to become less secure. So as much as this would be very hard to guess, if it's very hard to remember, it's not going to be very useful to us. I'm going to show you 3 other examples. Try and see some positives and some negatives of all of these examples. So here are the 3. Which ones do you think are strong passwords? Which ones do you think are weak passwords? If it's a strong password, is it a good password? Think about what it means to be a good password. It's easy to remember, hard to crack. And what do you notice about the ones that you think might be stronger? So well done if you notice that the top 2 are probably the stronger of the passwords. What have they got that the other 2 don't? So if we look at this bottom password, we can see that it's a word, it's bananas. One good thing about it is that it has a capital letter. It has a mixture of uppercase and lowercase. One of the reasons it's quite a bad password is because what happens, one way that people might try to crack a password is they might get a computer program that just tries your password loads and loads of times really quickly, and what they do is they work through what's called a dictionary, and they will just try words, lots of different words, over and over and over and over again. So eventually they are going to come to bananas. So eventually that password will get cracked. The next one, we've got cat for 213. One good point about this is it's got a mixture of numbers and letters. And another good thing, it's got 2 words in here. It's got cat and fur. But one bad thing about this is actually those 2 words are related. So if you're getting cat, you might then, if you're trying lots and lots of combinations, you're going to try cat and lots of words that are then related to cat if you're getting through it that way. Let's look at the second one. Again, we've got uppercase, lowercase. We've got some symbols in there. We've got some numbers. It's a brilliantly secure password, but it's incredibly hard to remember. Now we're going to look at how we can generate passwords like the 1 and the 2 and how we can remember them later on. So let's have a look now. Can we create some rules for our passwords? Is there some things that we can do in order to make sure our password is strong? So one thing you can do, you can use what's called a password generator, and you can do this online, and they will create you passwords just like this. They use a string of letters, and you can set how many you think that they should have. A good general rule is about 12 characters, so that's 12 of the individual either letters, numbers, or symbols or more. And generally when you use a generator, you can choose what you want it to include. You want it to include capital letters, lowercase letters, and the amount of different characters in there. Another way you can do is what's called a passphrase rather than a password. Now I'm going to show you a passphrase I went to Disneyland when I was 4 years old and it made me happy. And what you can do with that is a phrase that you can remember, because if that was somebody's password, they've probably been to Disneyland when they were 4. What you can do from there, you can create something that looks like this. If we have a look, we've got the capital I. First went to Disneyland when I was 8 years and and it made me happy. Got a J there, probably should be. It might be jolly. They've chosen to do that. So they've created one of those really obscure looking passwords and they've used a passphrase for it. Let's have a look at another example of a passphrase. My friend Matt ate 6 donuts at the bakery cafe and it cost him £10. Let's have a look. Maybe you want to have a go. Pause the video and try and see, what is this password? What might that look like? Let's have a look. Here we go. My friend Matt ate 6 donuts at the bakery cafe and it cost him £10. So that's a clever way. It's a little bit, it's not a mnemonic, but it's like a mnemonic. Remember when we used, we did that for the planets. My very easy method just speeds up naming planets. It's not the same, but it's very similar. And it's a good way that we can remember a long string of characters. Another way that we can, another really good way actually to remember is just use 4 random words. So it could be hairbrush, golf club, drill. That's 3. Deodorant. That's just me looking around my room, thinking of those 3. Oh, those 4. Hairbrush, golf club, drill, deodorant. And I would write them in. Now you can do some extra things, like you can separate the words with slashes or symbols, or change some of the I's to 1s, some of the S's to 5. Let's have a look. We've got jigsaw, quest, trait, fork, and in the middle of those we've got some symbols. Now they can be quite difficult to remember, but they're a lot easier to remember than some of the ones we saw right at the beginning. But these are, it's incredibly hard for a machine to crack passwords like this. Here we've got another one. We've got glimpse, stuff, prize, and koala. Remember, if we look here, we've changed that S to a $sign and an L to a 1. And we've got an exclamation point in there. And also, another one is to use things like emoticons. So we might put a little smiley face, a little strange face here, or a little unusual face there in there somewhere. So they are some rules that we can use to generate some passwords. So what I want you to do is I want you just to have a go at this. I want you to see if you can generate some passwords, some random passwords, using some of these methods, some of the rules we've just discussed. So you might want to go back, look at these rules, and then try and have a go. So generate some passwords using the methods. And also, once you've done that, once you've had a go, it might be, you might do 5 of them, you might do 10 of them, you might even go back through some of your passwords that you might have for some of your accounts and think, can I create something a bit better? Can I create something a bit more secure? Once you've done that, have a go. Can you guess the 2 most common passwords? And they are very, very bad passwords to do. And if any of you have a password like this, I would strongly suggest you to change it. And I also want you to have a think about, why are these passwords weak passwords? Why might they not be very good? So well done if you've generated some passwords. The 2 most common passwords is, of course, password. That was a classic when I was growing up and the internet was sort of just coming into its own. People starting to have passwords, and they had the password because they thought they were being clever, but everybody else had that same idea. And I'm not sure which one is 1 and 2, but these are the top two. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those two are the most common passwords, and you can probably imagine like password 1, password 2 are also very high up there. So any combination that I know, it can be quite annoying, especially like with usernames. Like you're typing in your new username, and you might have to put a number at the end because somebody else has already taken it. Well, people do that with passwords. They think, oh, I've already got a password. I'm just going to add 1 on the end to make it different. It doesn't quite work like that. And why are these weak passwords? Well, king cobra are 2 words that are related. There is an animal called a king cobra. So you might want to put king and screw. Those 2. It might be Hoover and king. Hoover and cobra. I don't know. Try and get the words not related or unrelated. Bank account. I mean, 2 words that are related, and probably if this is somebody's password, probably for their bank account, and the other one, eBay account. If someone's got that as their password, it's probably for their eBay account, and that's probably the first thing that the hackers might try to use. So well done if you got that. If you can, suggest some alternatives that they could use instead. So moving on, I want us to look at how we can keep our passwords safe. Because as I've said, we're generating some quite complicated strings of characters for our passwords, and it's really important that they're kept safe. One way you can do it is what's called muscle memory. Now, I find that when I'm typing my password, I have what's called a muscle memory. So actually my fingers, when I'm typing, just type, and I don't even think about the letters that I'm pressing. And sometimes when I stop to think because I've made a mistake, I can't remember what it is. I have to then try and forget it and then just let my fingers type. That's called muscle memory, when you just remember how to do things. That's one way that you can do it. And I do have a few passwords that are like that actually when I log into that account, my fingers just do all the work for me and I don't actually realise what I'm doing. Another thing we can do is try as much as you can. I know it's more convenient, but try not to save your passwords. It's very easy to press the little checkbox, remember me, but actually that gets stored. And in the next slides, we're going to have a look at finding some of that information that's stored on that computer that people could access. So don't save your passwords. As convenient as it might be, try not to press that remember me button. Now, I've just said don't save your passwords, but there are some things where it is quite safe to remember your password, and that's called a password manager. And I use something like this. So I have most of my accounts are all incredibly strange passwords, and it's going all the way back to the ones we did at the beginning that we said were incredibly strong but bad because we can't remember them. So what password manager does is it finds and it links those really strange passwords with the account that they're meant to be. And I don't need to remember, because I can remember one super secure password for my password manager, and I let that do all of the work. So that's what I do. I have a really secure password that I remember, and all of my different passwords from all my different accounts are all saved in the password manager. And I would suggest you have different passwords to different accounts, because it's very easy to get, I'm not going to remember my password, I'm just going to have the same one for all my accounts. But if that gets found, all of your accounts go. Don't give out your passwords to anybody, because you don't know where it's going to end up, unless you have some really, really trusted people. So it might be an adult or something like that. You might be working as part of a team. But I've given you a password out, but that's because the information that's in there doesn't really need to be secure. If it needs to be really secure, only people that you want to have it should have it. And we can also do what's called two-factor authentication. Some of you might have that on some of your devices. I have that on my password manager. Every time I log in on the computer, it pops up on my phone and asks me if I want to let that person do it. So I know if somebody's logging in a different country and I haven't logged in and I get a notification on my phone, do you want to open that up? I can say no. I got that the other day. Somebody logged into one of my accounts from the Philippines, and I have not been to the Philippines. So I was like, that's definitely not me. I might need to change that password, and I can press no, you can't have access. So two-factor authentication, and most devices will allow you to do that. So if you want to find out where all of your passwords are stored, you want to get rid of them, maybe you've saved them on your browser. If you've got an iPad, you can have a look through these. I'm not going to go through them, you can just go through them. Pause this. If you've got an Android tablet, you can go through there and see all of your passwords, and if you're using the Chrome web browser, you can see all of your password there. If you use something different, you can always go online and say, see my saved passwords on whatever it is. But yeah, I think you'd be surprised at how many of your passwords are saved in there. And again, this is all stored when you press that button, remember me. The computer hasn't got a magic memory. What it does is it writes them down in a book and saves them on your computer. So, well done for following on that far. Here we have a nice little game for us. It's called the Tower of Treasure. So what you can do to find this game is to go onto Google and search for Interland Tower of Treasure. You can search for this QR code. What I want you to do is to navigate to this orange world. We're going to be covering some of the other worlds in some of the other lessons, and it would be really nice if you could download your certificate and submit it. So what happens is you're going to play for a few levels. We're going to talk about, it's actually quite a fun game. It's got music that's very similar to Crash Bandicoot in it. Download your certificate, put your name on it, and then you can submit it onto Class Dojo if you want to. You don't have to, but it's a good game that talks us through staying safe online. Well done. Remember, to stay safe online, you're going to be spending the majority of your lives online, or have some form of online presence. Keep it safe. Remember to be respectful. Think about your online persona, and think about keeping safe online.